me clear my throat and prepare myself to almost dropped my phone. Let me collect myself and welcome everyone to a live post here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. My name is Judson. I see two of our 140 plus rescued residents resting comfortably, rescuing compassionately, and rescuing under your care and support. Who do I see? I see a pair of serval ears as well as a pair of Savannah ears. So let me welcome everyone, and then I'll introduce who we're hanging out with today. We're going to do a little bit of stroll around Wildcat Pines, hang out with some of the medium to small rescued cats. But before that, good afternoon, Marcy Sanborn. Look at Mr. Lloyd going to hang out with Bruno here. Krista Christensen, welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you with us. A very intimate moment between Bruno. You what, friends? Bruno and Lloyd have made no qualms about their friendship being something that they both cherish. And for Bruno, a serval, to have a companion like an F1 Savannah, definitely one of the kind of the more unique relationships that we have here. We have plenty of odd couples that are different species, and maybe they're not different species, but Bruno being, or rather Lloyd being a hybrid species of what Bruno is. So welcome everyone. Hey, Liz Green, glad to have you with us, saying hi to Bruno. Looks like AmeriCorps is catching their attention. They're doing some tree trimming across the way. Let's zoom in on this handsome mug here. Keep on saying hi to some folks. Jeannie Curry, alive! I'm so happy. Of course, Jeannie. It admittedly was kind of crummy weather this morning. Olivia and I were putzing around thinking about what a good live would be, and we thought that the best option would be just to stave off and wait until clearer weather. So as a matter of fact, done for the day and off for the long weekend, but you're stuck with me, and I'm excited to do a little bit of a stroll this morning. Not this morning, this afternoon. So let's see what else we got here. Krista Christensen, a very close call with a tornado in your neck of the woods. Right. Scary stuff indeed. And Liz Green, you said hi to Bruno earlier. I appreciate you circling back and making a designated hello to Lloyd as well. And as you know, the habitats here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, are very much what we like to call wild. Just like the cats that are in them, the habitats themselves, I think, are very emblematic and representative of the types of residents that they're in them. Certainly so. Wild to an extent, Mr. Bruno. We have been busy doing lots of grooming of some of these wild habitats, lots of the grass being cut to give Bruno still plenty of tall grass like you see him in now, but also knowing that Bruno is one of our tripod residents. That lovely serval you see there only has 3 legs. And so, whew, that was a big drop, Bruno. Big drop. Sorry about that, everyone. As it can happen, the internet likes to have its way with us here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, so sorry about that. Well, I do admit, there goes Bruno hopping away. Well, I do admit that when we have kind of tough connection days like today, really makes, kind of has the diehards really stand out, Bruno, because those who stick around for the bumpy connection, it means a lot to me, certainly. Bruno's going to do a big jump. Wow. Nice job, Mr. Tripod Serval. And yes, I did spray some scented water up there, so I don't blame you if you're smelling some of that. But glad to have the real diehards with us is what I'm driving at. Hello, Trevor G, checking in, saying hello, gorgeous babies. And a bevy of emojis. Thank you for that, Trevor. I'm glad to have you with us. See what's happening in the... Marcy Sanborn, that's right, you're stuck with me. As Huey Lewis saying, we're happy to be stuck with you. I love how musical you are, Marcy. You always have a tune, a little tune, a musical quip, I should say. It's just the biggest shame that the internet's being a little persnickety, Bruno. It's the biggest shame. Because I love hanging out with such a handsome man, and you're in an awesome spot to hang out and talk about Mr. Bruno, talk about Fiona, talk about Lloyd. But if this internet keeps on giving us some guff, folks. Bruno has got a great face, says Liz Green. He does have a handsome little mug, doesn't he? Let's see, what else is happening in these comments here? Welcome, welcome, welcome if you're just trickling in here, folks. Doing a little bit of a sanctuary stroll, checking in with some of our medium-sized rescues today. Bobcat Bruno. Serval Bruno and F1 Savannah Lloyd have been debuting so far on today's live post, hoping to catch some more as we kind of circumnavigate Wildcat Pines here. Liz Green, that was a great jump from Mr. Bruno here. As you can see, where normally there would be 4 paws, Bruno only has 3 paws, as why we affectionately call him one of our, not only is he a tripod, T-R-I-P-O-D, but he is also a tripod, T-R-I-P-A-W-E-D. Bruno tragically was found wandering a suburb of Boston. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Bruno's story. It's a pretty staggering story. And also, almost even more staggering to understand that what Bruno faced is something that more than a handful of rescues here at the Wildcat Sanctuary has faced, as well as just many other cats that are here in the sanctuary system. As Bruno was lost, we don't know the conditions in which that led him out to be wandering a suburb of Boston. Was he let loose because he was undesirable? Did he escape because it was illegal to own a serval in that state, and his former owners didn't want to call the authorities on him? We don't know. But we do know that Bruno sustained an injury during his romp around Boston, and because of that, he had to have one of his legs surgically amputated. But you know that Bruno's here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. You know us here at the Wildcat Sanctuary specify and put an emphasis on catering to cats and their individual needs. And for a cat like Bruno, who is tripod, as we affectionately call you, Bruno, we are here along with a fleet of supporters to give you the type of tailored and curated life that a 3-legged cat like you deserves. I was going to say, I just lost Lloyd for a second. I think he was stalking some bugs across the way. Tara Barrett saying beautiful animals. They are beautiful. Isn't that just the darn truth? And, cool to think that Lloyd and Bruno, Tara, are just 2 of 140 rescues who are strikingly beautiful and truth to tell, have even more beautiful stories behind them. And when you get to understand some of the history behind some of these cats paired with their beauty, I think that can really come together to create something special. Oh, we got some tuna treats on top of the platform there. Not too shabby, Mr. Lloyd. Let me catch up on some comments here. Looks like we have a little bit more consistent of a connection. Also cool to see everyone. That is an F1 Savannah on top of the platform and a full wild African serval below. So certainly plenty of similarities, but as well as lots of differences. But not just physical similarities as well, also kind of the behavioral similarities, and it's those wild behavioral tendencies that end a lot of these hybrid wildcats in sanctuary. Cool to see a kind of 50-50 comparison right here. Let's catch up on some comments here. Phyllis Hunt saying, it's so great to see this trio in such a lush habitat. I agree, Phyllis. And maybe for those who are not aware, but there indeed is a third cat in this free-roaming habitat. Fiona, the serval, who is a lovely, fiery gal indeed, but certainly more particular about when and when not she wants to be featured in photos and video. So she's out there. She is happy as a clam. And the reason she's happy as a clam is because she is away from me. Looking at a few more comments. Kathy at the Rock checking in saying, hi to Bruno and myself. Hope the wind is not as bad here as it's been for you. Had a huge branch bop off the roof, and luckily no wires or my car. So good to hear no electrical issues happen from that falling tree. And your car. I had a friend, believe it or not, who had two different cars had a tree fall on their car. It was just the worst luck. So I'm glad, Kathy, that not only you're safe, but you didn't have that bad luck as my pal did. Jizzy Lovell saying, from his first day at TWS to today, Bruno has come a long way. He's got his girlfriend Fiona and his boyfriend Lloyd. That's right. Bruno gets to, as we say, Chizzy, he gets to have his cake and eat it too. Bruno really is living a sweet life, and a life that, of course, is we get to point back and thank the people like you and your support for what they offer. Cats like Bruno, companionship. We're pointing out this type of habitat that Bruno's in. We're talking about the special steps that we take for a tripod cat like Bruno, a cat with 3 legs, to make sure he's going to have the type of mobility that he needs in his habitat, as well as the type of longevity in terms of making sure he's getting the type of veterinary care and little additions and adjustments to make sure this guy has a happy and healthy long life, no matter how many legs he has. Boing, boing. Bruno, I have a hunch that, speaking of your girlfriend, I have a hunch that she's probably in this den box right here. Bruno's marching to the beat of his own drum. I'm going to let him go off and do his thing. I think we're going to take a page out of Bruno's book and stay mobile here. I'd like to maybe see Bonnie and Clyde. Excuse me. And whoever other Bobs are out and about here in Wildcat Pines. I will say that the caretaking team is making their way through Wildcat Pines. It looks like they're finishing up their cleaning, so we should have access to just about every cat here in this area, if I'm not mistaken. And before I get on the move, I want to welcome everyone. If maybe you're just joining us, it is a marvelous Friday here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. Hey, Bruno. We are enjoying a live post with rescued serval Bruno. We got to see rescued F1 Savannah Lloyd. Certainly good to see one of our hybrid rescues as we've been promoting our Catio Town campaign. Bruno doing a little bit of what I call the caretaker shuffle, hanging out to see if I'm going to walk him into his lockout to give him a chicken piece. But Bruno, I can assure you, you've already had your meal today. Alrighty. I'm kind of going to go in from the hallway to see if I can see Bonnie and Clyde anywhere. Sometimes they'll like this kind of back area of their habitat. The skywalks come down onto a platform. And then obviously there's this big kind of pine tree that I've found that those two have been enjoying. Make sure I'm zoomed out all the way. Okay, I am. Slowly but surely, I'm sure we will come across those two mischievous Bobs. And I just love how gorgeous Lloyd looks. I think out of all the trees in the habitat, some of the willows have to be some of my favorite. And those are just coming in yet, and will get even more full and provide a great source of shade, provide a cool, unique kind of hiding spot for the cats. Awesome inclusions in the habitat for sure. Let's see. And I hope I didn't make a boo-boo in the sense of, I've mentioned that caretakers are in this area doing some cleaning, and I know they're wrapping up their cleaning. So I might be kind of making a loop while all of the cleaning has just finished, and they're going to be giving the cats access. But we'll see. I see Morgan, some of Morgan and Sarge's group, so we'll keep on cruising here. Keep on cruising. As always, I appreciate everyone's patience, but it is a sanctuary stroll after all. So, if you all aren't kind of vicariously exercising through me, then we wouldn't even be able to call it a sanctuary stroll. So this is part of it. Hey, Sergeant. I see handsome Glenn back there. Permission to film, Sarge. Permission granted. Thank you, Sarge. One of our more petite bobcat rescues, Bobcat Sarge, a rather compact cat. Got these wonderful short legs and a tiny little body. But Sarge, it doesn't mean that you don't have a personality that's as large as a lion. Just catching up on a few comments as I was kind of walking there. Debbie Baker, I see Liz Green and has already given her answer well, but Debbie Baker, how much does it cost to visit and what hours are you open? And here's Miss Morgan. Is she going to go hang out with Glenn? You can see just her legs, of course. But that's one of the wonderful things about what we do here, Debbie, is that at the Wildcat Sanctuary, we are a forever home and rescue for wildcats in need. We're not a zoo for people. We are a sanctuary for cats. And one of the wonderful things about the Wildcat Sanctuary, and it might be counterintuitive to some, but we're close to the public. We're close to the public because many of our cats are coming from situations where they've been disaffected by humans. Foot traffic on a daily basis would be a disservice to them here in their forever home. And then second of all, and kind of chiefly, it's not a part of our mission or vision for our rescues, is that for here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, many of these rescues have perhaps, and look at Morgan going to hang out with Glenn, have perhaps escaped a life of exhibition. And so certainly the last thing we would want them to do when they're coming to their forever home here at the sanctuary is to almost kind of relive some of the trauma that they had in their former life. But it's certainly a great question and one that I always love answering because it's a logical one. Obviously people are curious about the Wildcat Sanctuary and how they can get involved, and visiting certainly is kind of the first thing that pops into people's mind. But I'm glad we have so many people like Liz who even mentioned that that's part of the reason of why you support us is we're close to the public. And I'll admit that when I tell people about the Wildcat Sanctuary and talk to them about how we're close to the public, it's really kind of, when they learn that we're close to the public, it's almost like a final confirmation for them that we're here for the cats and not for making profit off of the cats. We're here to care for the cats. So I really do appreciate that. That's something that wasn't just implemented a few years ago. It was something from the inception of the Wildcat Sanctuary for it to be closed to the public and to be a dedicated sanctuary for cats and not a zoo for people. It's one of the special things about TWS and why we are what we are. Kind of zoom in. I was in an awkward angle. But there's handsome Glenn up there, and Glenn and Sarge are joined us on the same rescue. That would have been in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, the cats are so shrewd, everyone. And, they know when I'm around. And, for example, Lilac or Alyssa is very good at this. If they're not too fond on humans, they're even, keen enough to know that they can turn their head away from me. And so you can see, Glenn, who understandably so, is not the most fond of humans, and Glenn gets all the type of space and adequate, options to kind of stay away from us humans. But him kind of turning his head like that is another little tell to me, and I'll be able to keep this party on and moving, Mr. Glenn. And also maybe it's a combination of the caretaking staff being around the bend as well. But surely Copper and Archer are out and about. Maybe we can hang out with those two goofy dudes. I do have my perfume water. And Copper's already cruising, but cruising away from me. I'm just going to spray some perfume water on the ground here. Oh, you smell the perfume water, hmm? Now that's a big jump for a bob. You can take the long way. Or you can take a sip. That works too, Cop. Ellen Simmons kind of pointing back to Sergeant Glenn. I remember that rescue well, Judson, a long way to and from the West Coast. You know, fortunately, we, AJ and I, a caretaker at the time, we were able to fly out, thanks to a donor buying our plane tickets. We were able to fly out and then drive back. So certainly shaved off a good portion of that rescue trip because it was about 29 hours on the trip back. And still, you know, nothing that I'm afraid of. It would have been a year ago for Indy's rescue. Lisa and I drove down to Arizona, picked up Indy, and hightailed it right out of there. So that was pretty much 30 hours down. It was 1 day of rest and then 30 hours right back up. Nothing we can't handle around these parts, Ellen. And Yada, very flattering with this comment. I just need to shout out all the media team, employees and interns. I've never once seen a bad photo the 6 years I've followed the page. And Yada, wow, what a kind thing to say, and certainly something that, as the communications specialist here, kind of heading up that department along with Olivia, thank you for that. And I'm sure compliments like that go a long way for our interns, and they should, rightfully so. They're putting a lot of work in. They're expanding their professional skill sets. For like you, Henyata, goes a long way as well. So thank you for that. They're just flattering me, Mr. Copper. Flattering me and the team. See what else is happening here in the comments. As always, Judson can tend to just talk. Make sure I'm checking in with everyone properly. Big Bobcat yawn. Yeah, looks like we're doing a good job of keeping up to pace here. Copper, admittedly, is getting his summer coat in. Copper, really gets that red coat color. Bobcats are known to have a variety of coat variations since, very simply, they come from such a wide variety of geographic regions. And people might look at a cat like Copper and say, well, he's kind of red, he's kind of copper color. That's how he got his name, Copper. Well, if we were to look closely here, Copper, while I have you being such an excellent student, you would notice that two of his eyes are a different color, and Copper is actually a wild-born bobcat. Woof, just had a mosquito go up my nose. Copper is actually a wild-born bobcat, and tragically, he was caught in a barn fire. Let me see if I can catch those eyeballs, handsome. Tragically, he was caught in a barn fire. His inside of his mouth was burned. His belly had some burns. The eye, fortunately, was not damaged, but sustained an injury from being caught in that fire. So Copper has got a unique look, and if I may say so myself, a pretty bad ASSS look, Copper. And that's where he gets his name. So you might think it comes from the red coat, that copper-looking coat, but it's actually his eyes. But maybe we can say it counts for both, and it's for his copper-colored coat and his copper-colored eye, Archer. And Archer is a lot more attuned to the caretaking staff that's kind of circling around the way. I'm going to make sure that I'm not getting in their way either, if maybe they're coming back to refeed someone like Archer, who can be a little bit more hesitant about coming into his lockout. So funny, in the span of about 10 seconds, Archer went from the ground to the trees. That bobcat butt you see there is Archer up in one of his pine trees in his habitat, one of his favorite hangout spots, truthfully. Doesn't make for the best photo, Hinata, speaking of getting good photos, but it's still fun to see the types of unique spaces our rescues have. Alrighty, let's keep on cruising. Oh, you just look so handsome, Mr. Copper. You just look so handsome. And with a clean belly. Nice to see some sun popping in. Pretty wet start to the day, admittedly. And glad that we kind of held off for the live post to get ourselves a good stroll in on this Friday. So let's keep on boogieing, Mr. Copper. Maybe see what your neighbors are up to, Francis and Belvedere and Mr. Autumn. Well, predictably so, I know. Hey, Francis. We'll come over here and say hi to you. Ah, that's Mr. Belvedere, not Francis. That means Francis is maybe up on his platform sky. So we'll try that. Let me sneak through here. I'm going to take a left. Hey, Benson. Hey, I'm going to spray some scented water because I know that you are a bobcat who loves scent enrichment. He says, I love scent enrichment, but I also love making sure that you are paying attention to the safety protocols here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. And I always appreciate that, Mr. Benson. Hey, Sam. Intern Sam, circling back after their cleaning of these yards, doing a little water top off for Mr. Benson and Mr. Claude. Admittedly, Claude likes hanging out kind of back here, and I'm hoping maybe if I get a dip. I also know that the internet can get a little funky on the edges of Wildcat Pines, so I want to hang out with Mr. Benson. I want to hang out with Mr. Claude, but we will kind of stay within our means if we have to. Is Claude somewhere back there? Are you going to hang out with your handsome friend? See if I can use the phone to look here. So you got yourself a good scratching log back there, handsome. It's good to see a cat like Benson here on a live. There's 140 plus rescues here, all of them unique and special in their own way. And I'm just so glad when we get to see cats like Benson, cats like Claude. Ooh, mosquitoes! Oh, you're making a little potty. Who typically might not be as well known as cats like Daisy, cats like Leo, Mansa, the Ukraine Pride. But it's always so remarkable to truly understand that though they may be small, they're mighty in personality and character, mighty in their stories, and that they're just as harrowing and incredible and moving as the rest. It's always does me some good hanging out with a cat like you, Mr. Benson. You're just a big cruiser, aren't you? You keep on cruising, handsome. All right. Love to see this. Some people talking about some of the Wildcats camera. If you just go to watchwildcats.com, it'll bring you right to our YouTube channel where we have a live camera going Monday through Friday, 10 to 5. The star this week, and it looks like maybe some people catching evidence of Daisy doing some pool antics, maybe seeing a tiger outline on her platform. There's Bobcat Enzo. And I see Bobcat Athena, Enzo's habitat mate. It looks like she's puzzling out some scattered tuna in her shift. Enzo is taken out into their habitat, and he's knocking out what looks to be a good spread of some tuna enrichment, Mr. Enzo. I'm looking around at all the different platforms. Here comes Athena. Woo, get out of here, mosquito. Having a great time visiting with some of our medium cat rescues, everyone. And so happy if some of you are just joining us. So happy if some of you have been with us the whole time. We're almost kind of just made about a whole loop here of Wildcat Pines. We got to see Bruno. We got to see Lloyd. Would have loved to have seen Bonnie and Clyde, but it looks like maybe they were inside or doing something. Who else did we see? A little bit of Sarge, a little bit of Morgan, some Glenn. I think it's been a good little post here, everyone. Phyllis Hunt, I wish. Another tripod resident. Speaking of Claude, after we saw Benson earlier. If we're lucky, we might actually see Claude. I agree, Phil. Kind of in that little thicket where I thought he would be. But it has been kind of inclement weather today, so I wouldn't put it past Claude to be comfortably napping dryly in his bungalow. Let's see what else has happened here. Betty Winter, your mosquitoes are huge. That is right, Betty. It's the kind of the ongoing joke here in Minnesota that the state bird isn't a loon, but the state bird is actually a mosquito. Kind of bless AmeriCorps' hearts. I think that's been all the hard and just the type of physical, just the physicality of the work that they've been doing is what I'm driving at. But if you were to ask them what the kind of hardest parts of working here has been, and it's been fighting off the mosquitoes. So, it's not doing skirting in the hot sun. It's not doing fence patching on a windy day. No, it's having to deal with the mosquitoes. So, welcome to Minnesota, I guess. It's a darn wet spring. So that's just kind of what it takes to create a breeding ground for these mosquitoes is moisture, and we've had a lot of it. What do you think, Mr. Enzo? He says, I'm just going to keep on puzzling. Let's see here. If we're heading out to the weekend, Mr. Enzo, it's a long weekend, a Memorial Day weekend. Hoping everyone has some exciting plans, maybe some low-key plans. Regardless, want it to be well spent and certainly spent safely as well. Mr. Enzo, nasty weather popping up. He is kind of just, more and more signs that we're not preparing for summer, but have kind of checked the box and prepared for summer. Shade cloths being put in, Miss Athena. We have water buckets being switched out. We have mosquitoes in my ear. And it's just cool to see how much of I keep on kind of thinking that we're prepping for summer, but lawnmowers are out, cat moves are happening, pools are pretty much already here, Athena. Looks like some people are sharing their weekend plans. I'd love to kind of find out about that. Phyllis Hunt, wherever you are, looks like you'll have lots of visitors in your little valley, perhaps somewhere out west. Still can be fun, though. Ellen Simmons, you're attending your grandson's high school graduation on Saturday. Well, congratulations to your grandson. That's quite the accomplishment, and good for them. And good luck in whatever their future endeavors hold in store. Carrie Miller, think about all the happy bats enjoying eating those mosquitoes, Judson. I agree, Carrie. Truthfully, I look for, wow, I wish I would have caught that jump. That was a huge jump. It would have been such a cool angle, too. Quite the leap from Bobcat Enzo. And admittedly, quite the interaction for Mr. Enzo leaping over to scoop up the rest of Athena's tuna treats here. I also should be a little bit more mindful of you, Mr. Enzo. But Carrie, that's right. I'm thinking about the happy bats. I'm thinking about those dragonflies that are going to come and help out with this bug problem we got here. Phyllis Hunt, where you are, still too cool for mosquitoes yet. Typically in June is when you get your mosquitoes. Well, lucky you. Gosh, we got hit with it very early this year. I think it's all just part of the early spring that we had and kind of just the above average temps so far. Well, Mr. Enzo, let me make sure I'm not missing out on any comments or questions. It certainly is. In former pets, and Enzo is a mischievous bobcat too. He always is one who you need to be certainly aware of. As with all the cats here, we keep safety top of mind, but Enzo is one who is fast as a bolt of lightning, I tell you. And he wants to get a hold of you too. Now that's quite the life lesson from your grandmother, Marcy. But those two are going to keep on puzzling their tuna. I'm going to walk. I'm just going to sneak around the corner to see if I can catch up with 5 Poe. 2 handsome boys are doing their own thing. Then we'll just go ahead and sign off on our own. And it looks like they are doing their own thing. Alrighty, everyone. Wanted to do kind of a full circle, check back in with Bruno and Lloyd, but we already got a good dose of those two on this live, so we'll have to carry on with that. But hey, thank you everyone for tuning in today, checking in on a Friday live post. A little out of the ordinary for our time. It was kind of raining this morning, so glad that we got to get out and stay dry for this live and see what the cats are up to. It is turning out to be a pretty darn beautiful day. So have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, everyone, and wonderful long weekend. And looking forward to having you all back here on Tuesday. The office staff will be out on Monday, so we'll see everyone next Tuesday. See you then.